The New Republic was the successor state to the Empire after its victory during the Galactic Civil War, a war that was mostly won on the blood and efforts of sentient aliens and humans alike. However, the New Republic, unlike the Empire and Republic before it, actually relied on droids for many matters of security and defense. But why exactly is this? Now, on the latest episode of Mandalorian, we see that droids seem to play an integral role in security measures for the New Republic, particularly in guarding prisoners. However, they also likely were used far more wildly in security positions. But this does seem odd. We have ourselves analysed the issue of using droid militaries and security services on this channel a few times, and it's strange that an organisation that rose from a dependence on organics would so quickly be willing to automate procedures and cut humans and other sentients out, especially considering what this led to in the Clone Wars, which wasn't that long ago. However, when you think about it, it does actually make quite a lot of sense. Firstly, we need to consider the fact that the Republic doesn't have a huge amount of potential soldiers available. When the Galactic Civil War became serious, the Empire drafted countless able bodies into its service. Many humans were drafted into the military and were forced to fight for the Empire. And even if they surrendered, they could never be trusted in the New Republic now, in positions of power. And although there were far more aliens who would have been willing to join, many of which were refugees whose worlds and families had been torn apart in the conflict. Therefore, they were naturally more concerned with rebuilding and finding lost loved ones rather than fighting. So, in the early days of the New Republic, there just wasn't a lot of people who were willing to join the fight. Really, people probably had enough of war at this point. We also need to remember the fact that people were likely skeptical about the New Republic. A lot of citizens will have been around during the age of the Republic and Clone Wars, and knew that it was far from perfect. Not only this, but they've spent the last 2 decades being fed lies about the rebellion from the Empire, so in general, public opinion was pretty cautious when it came to working with this New Republic. Especially under people like Mon Mothma, who had served both the Old Republic and the Empire. Now, you may be thinking, didn't all the rebel troops just join the New Republic, giving them a considerable military force? And the answer to this is kind of. The important thing that we need to remember about the Rebel Alliance is that it was pretty decentralized. Although Mothma and her group called most of the shots, it was still far from perfect and they had a very limited span of control. Many groups were responsible for the death of innocent civilians and had committed war crimes in some capacity, and these people were obviously not going to be allowed to be the fighting force of this new official government, as it completely undermines their entire message of justice. We also have to consider the criminal acts the rebellion did. Working against the Empire meant that the rebels were criminals, and for this reason, many of their allies and assets were also criminals. And again, these people couldn't be trusted. You can't have pirates and arms dealers even if they no longer are guarding your prisoners, as there's a solid chance that they'll just change side for the promise of pay. Not to mention all of the crimes that they will have committed in the past. So by the time that they'd weeded out all of the rebels who would be inappropriate to use, the New Republic's pickings were again slim. Finally, I think we have the biggest reason for hesitation in using sentience, and that was the Empire itself. The New Republic knew that the Empire was still out there. It couldn't defeat them in battle, but there was still remnants. And the New Republic leaders knew that these Imperial remnants still had a long reach in the form of its intelligence networks and ISB's secret police. The galaxy at this point was very fragile. The economy will have been shattered from the war, people felt uncertain with this New Republic, and this created the perfect opportunity for espionage. At the end of the day, Imperial High Command had for years used the ISB to manipulate the galaxy from the shadows, and the Republic knew this. For this reason, they had to be aware of treachery for sensitive missions, such as moving prisoners or guarding special facilities or senators. They needed those responsible to be totally loyal and uncorruptible, and this, in my mind, is why droids were the best method. In such a tense period, allowing soldiers to secretly enrich themselves through corruption or allow the Imperial remnants to start pulling strings would be too risky. They needed security, and it needed to be ironclad that would never be compromised. But what do you guys think? Why were droids used by the New Republic, and do you believe that this is a good idea or a terrible mistake? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, share and sub if you did enjoy it, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter @TheLoreGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Thanks again for watching. I really do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.